The story kicks off with our main character in his workshop, totally absorbed in a crucial task. He's positioned in front of a forge, hammering a piece of metal with all his might. Before the anvil, the guy raises his hammer with conviction, ready to land another precise strike. With every powerful impact, sparks of energy fly everywhere in the dark workshop. Suddenly, a ghostly person appears behind him, asking if he'll actually succeed. The bluish spirit continues to taunt him, questioning if he's really going to go through with this whole revenge thing. Losing his patience, our hero tells the ghost to get lost, but it just laughs and asks if he's feeling guilty. The specter then mocks him, telling him not to start with that whole determination speech now. Our MC completely ignores the words and continues his work at the forge with even more drive. From there, he starts to remember the past and a regrettable scene involving a young woman. Right after, glimpses of a chaotic and ruined battlefield flash through his memory. He also remembers the painful moment he held his father in his arms just before he passed. Because of this, the anguish of loss overwhelms him, and he screams at the heavens in the middle of a heavy storm. Back in the present, the spirit accuses him of being a weaponsmith who now wants payback. The ghost finds it absurd, and the main character simply closes his eyes in meditation. However, despite the provocations, our hero opens his eyes with an icy expression and says he couldn't care less. With that, he assures the spirit that his conviction is unshakable and his choice is already made. Right after, the scene changes, and we see him holding a wooden box with a serious look on his face. It's then revealed that he dedicated 15 years of his life as the blacksmith for the demonic cult. The young man walks toward a massive palace, fully aware that the tragedy he caused will never be forgotten. For that reason, he decides he will put a definitive end to everything with his own hands. His determined expression shows that he's completely focused on achieving his goal. In front of the enormous gates, he declares he's going to end it all and that the demon Craftsman will take his place. On the other side of the gates, a crowd is prostrated in a vast courtyard, celebrating the demonic heaven. A man is giving a speech about how the demonic heaven conquered the world in a mere 15 years. Another man praises the Supreme Lord, who was the main one responsible for this entire feat. At that moment, we meet the formidable Blood Demon Lord sitting calmly on his throne. A herald announces to everyone that the demon Craftsman will present the 11th divine weapon. With the path cleared, our main character starts walking serenely toward the center of the courtyard. As he moves forward with the box, he thinks that even if this isn't redemption, he doesn't care. Getting closer, he kneels down to finally display the long-awaited divine weapon. With that, he raises the wooden box toward the herald, who is waiting with great anticipation. At that moment, the box starts to emit a very sinister purple energy, surprising everyone. The herald stares at the box with wide eyes, not understanding what's happening. Upon opening it, a dagger shrouded in a purple aura is revealed, and the man asks what it is. All of a sudden, the dagger turns into an intense light, and he screams that there's nothing inside. Our MC just gives him a cold stare and thinks to himself that today, everything will come to an end. Given the situation, the light materializes into a large blade of energy in front of the herald. Without wasting a second, the blade shoots forward at high speed toward the terrified man. In desperation, he yells, asking what kind of trick this is, and calls our hero a piece of trash. The attack hits him head-on, sending him flying with incredible force. With his clothes torn and in a complete state of shock, he can hardly believe what just happened. But our main character doesn't stop and unleashes an even more devastating wave of purple energy. This blast of power surges through the courtyard, wiping out everything in its path with absurd force. The true target of the attack is actually the Blood Demon Lord, who watches the scene from his throne with a bored expression. The powerful energy blast slams into the Lord's barrier, creating a massive explosion. Our main character is absolutely shocked to see that his attack has no effect at all. As the smoke clears, he notices the Lord blocked everything with just one hand and is completely unharmed. Even so, he doesn't give up and prepares another attack, declaring that he's not done yet. He points at the Lord and warns that he'll use the martial arts the Sovereign himself taught him. At this, the main character unleashes all his power, ready to consume his own life and energy to win. A gigantic blade of purple energy materializes above him, looking incredibly sinister. His eyes shimmer with fierce determination as he focuses everything into the attack. In a roar of fury, he declares he will take the Lord down and launches his final blow. The immense energy blade comes crashing down, causing a gigantic explosion. The impact is so intense that a shockwave violently sweeps across the entire courtyard. One of the cult members watches the scene in disbelief, wondering how that blacksmith has so much power. The dust slowly begins to settle, revealing a silhouette amid the devastation. It's RMC, still standing, but a pool of blood is forming beneath him. Panting and injured, he believes he has finally triumphed and that his revenge is complete. However, a mocking voice comes from behind him, finding the situation amusing. The Blood Demon Lord reveals that the formless dagger cannot be detected and attacks him. He praises the weapon, calling it a divine artifact worthy of its name, and lets it pass straight through him. Our main character is in shock, wondering how the Lord knew about the dagger and how he survived. Without giving him time to think, the Lord grabs him by the neck with crushing force. The Blood Demon Lord asks if his loyal servant still hasn't understood the situation. He reveals that even though he is an heir of the Tang clan, his revenge is completely useless. As he's being choked, our hero tells the Lord to shut up, pure hatred etched into his eyes. The Sovereign says it's a shame, because if he still had his energy, he would have kept him around somehow. Our MC ignores the taunts and places an eternal curse on the Demon Lord. The Lord replies that he hopes he'll live up to expectations next time and offers a final gift. He begins to recite a bizarre incantation, filled with indecipherable words. Our hero is terrified, unable to understand what's happening or what the Lord intends to do. With a final blow, the Blood Demon Lord hurls his body away and launches the gift, a dagger of red energy. An intense light shines in the Lord's palm as the weapon shoots forward at incredible speed. The red energy dagger strikes our hero squarely. He screams in pain as the impact sends him flying with brutal force, leaving him no chance to defend himself. He collapses to the ground lifeless, the dagger lodged deep in his chest. As his body falls, he wonders where it all went wrong. He reflects that he was born with a defective dantian, which is why he created artifacts. He laments never having lived the life he wanted and wonders if knowing the future would have made a difference. Thus, on the day the demonic world emerged, the life of Tang Se-woon came to an end. Suddenly, the scene shifts completely to a table full of food in a dimly lit room. Someone slams their fist on the table, yelling to get the attention of the person across from them. The man furiously asks if the person on the other side of the table is listening to him. Across from him, our main character seems totally disoriented and asks where he is. He complains about the noise in the room and feels a sharp headache as he tries to figure out what's going on. Our MC notices that his senses are incredibly sharp and remembers that he had stopped breathing. In front of him, the irritated man bangs on the table and yells that his words aren't being heard. Not understanding anything, the aggressor calls him young Master Tang and tells him to wake up to reality. From there, the man raises his hand and says that a dog that doesn't obey needs to be corrected. Right after, he lands a hard slap across our hero's face, violently knocking him to the side. With a hand on his cheek, our main character feels the sting of the blow and is completely stunned. The aggressor yells, asking if he's finally awake, and our hero begins to recognize the faces in front of him. Suddenly, a noise startles him, and he quickly looks back to see what happened. On the floor, a drink has been spilled, forming a small puddle and adding to the tension in the room. It's at that moment he sees a girl on the floor, crying and calling him young clan leader. His eyes fill with fury and turn red as he understands the gravity of the situation. A tragic memory floods his mind, showing the same girl in a terrible circumstance. With that, he finally remembers everything and realizes he has returned 16 years into the past. He recalls that on this very day, the girl named Seol suffered something terrible, and he couldn't protect her. Looking at the young woman on the floor, he is absolutely certain he has returned to that tragic moment. Our MC wonders if he's dreaming, but decides it doesn't matter either way. Soon after, he approaches Seol and comforts her, telling her not to worry. With a gentle look, he apologizes for failing to protect her before and promises to change everything. The aggressor grows furious at his words and lunges forward for another attack, full of rage. This time, our hero catches the man's fist with impressive strength, stopping it in midair. He tells him he'll give him one chance and orders the man to apologize properly. The aggressor is shocked by his attitude and yells that the young master has finally lost his mind. He continues to insult him, saying that our hero's sister came onto him and asking if he has a death wish. The man adds that she wasn't smart to refuse his marriage proposal, but our hero cuts him off. Our main character tells him to shut his mouth, and the aggressor turns red with fury at the audacity. Unintimidated, our hero provokes him further, saying that his smell and his looks are terrible. The taunt strikes a nerve, and the man clenches his fist, completely blinded by rage. Our main character finishes by saying that his character is even worse. At that, the man draws his weapon. He charges forward with his sword, ready to end things once and for all. To the aggressor's surprise, our hero dodges the attack with incredible agility. Our main character reflects that surprise attacks are forbidden by the orthodox Murim and prepares himself. He remembers that last time, he couldn't even fight back and was beaten without mercy. But now, he dodges the blows with ease, displaying skill that astonishes everyone. With a confident smirk, our hero wonders if this is truly all the aggressor is capable of. The man calls him arrogant for only dodging and leaps into the air for a powerful attack. His sword glows with intense energy as he prepares to strike with all his might. He yells that his luck won't last forever and moves in to finish the fight. Suddenly, the aggressor is shocked, and our hero asks why things aren't going his way. It turns out our main character has blocked the sword with his own, something that should have been impossible. The blades clash violently, sparks flying as a sharp metallic sound echoes through the room. The aggressor can barely hold on, feeling our hero's overwhelming strength. Our main character stares him down with a cold, determined gaze, then moves instantly. He spins and lands a powerful kick to the man's chest. The impact sends the aggressor flying through the air, disarming him in the process. Desperately, the man tries to recover midair, but it's too late to avoid a brutal fall. With his eyes glowing red, our main character radiates pure hatred. The aggressor is completely terrified by the sinister aura surrounding the young master. Without wasting time, our hero dashes at absurd speed toward another man nearby. With a swift motion, he grabs the man's daggers before he can react. Panic spreads across the man's face as he begs him to stop, but it's already too late. Our hero turns and delivers a crushing blow to the first aggressor's arm. The man screams in agony, clutching the limb as blood pours onto the floor. Looking down at him, our main character coldly says that it's too early, they're just getting started. Lying on the ground, the man wonders how some nobody from the Tang clan managed to do this. He can't understand what kind of dirty trick was used by someone who can't even use his dantian. With a chilling gaze, our hero states that this time, he won't let it go unpunished. He begins walking toward the terrified man, who begs him not to come any closer. Our main character replies that he's no hero, and that it's time to settle the score once and for all. The man's eyes fill with desperation. As his blade begins to glow with red energy, he warns that the next target will be the heart. The other two men are shocked and wonder how Li Hozong could have lost like that. One of them comments that the outcome seemed obvious, since it was a fight against a nobody from the Tang clan. Seeing the scene, one of the men approaches and suggests that the young master should end the fight now. Wary of the situation, he tells his companion that they'll head inside first, and the two of them flee. Alone in the hall, our hero is enveloped in a sinister red aura that grows larger and larger. Suddenly, a sphere of purple energy begins to glow intensely in his chest. With that, a trickle of blood runs from his mouth, and a sharp pain spreads throughout his body. Our main character struggles to endure it, thinking that he can't reveal his demonic energy. He turns to Li Hozong and says that he never cared about being looked down on all the time. The real problem was Li Hozong's lack of basic human decency for what he did to Seol. Even while injured, Li Hozong gets up and yells for our hero to get out of his sight. Now, our main character says that he deserves what's coming and lunges in for the final blow with his dagger. The blade digs into Li Hozong's shoulder, and he screams in pain from the direct hit. Suddenly, our hero senses a presence approaching and wonders who's coming now. A mysterious hand appears and grabs his arm firmly, stopping the decisive strike. At that moment, a man appears and yells for young Master Tang to stop immediately. Surprised by the interruption, our hero turns to face the newcomer. A group of warriors enters the hall and declares that they can no longer ignore the situation. He recognizes them as the dragon's successor guards. The disciple's personal guard, the group's commander, Sun Wugin, steps forward and calls him a useless mutt with open contempt. Our hero's eyes glow with hatred as he realizes they were in on it together from the start. It's revealed that these men, along with Li Hozong, would later become known as the worst traitors. Because of this, our hero decides he must eliminate all of them right here and now, without fail. The commander stares him down and asks what he'll do if they refuse to ignore the situation. Our main character questions what right they have to interfere, pointing out that Li Hozong isn't an official disciple. Faced with the sharp reply, Sun Wugin is stunned and left speechless. He knows our hero is right about Li Hozong, but can't understand how he knows that. Our main character accuses him of silently watching everything unfold, only stepping in now to stop punishment from being delivered. At this accusation, Sun Wugin calls him insolent and declares that punishment is not his place to carry out. Our hero merely gives a mocking smile, finding the situation almost amusing. He asks if this is truly the standard of the orthodox faction, leaving the commander speechless. With a sinister expression, our main character sarcastically remarks that they are truly impartial. Completely furious, Sun Wukong draws his sword and accuses him of dishonoring the martial alliance. He gives our hero one final chance to kneel, warning that things will get ugly otherwise. Unfazed, our hero asks if Sun Wukong obtained his commander position just by running his mouth. His face flushing red with rage, the commander shouts that our hero's arrogance knows no limits. Losing all patience, he gestures sharply and orders his men to capture him immediately. The fight erupts. Our hero quickly assesses that Sun Wukong is at the peak master level. On top of that, he finds himself surrounded by 3 other first-class warriors, all ready to fight. One of the guards attacks with everything he has, but our main character blocks the sword without difficulty. His small dagger stops the blade completely, showcasing his absurd strength. With a swift motion, he lands a kick on one of the guards and immediately prepares for the next assault. Our main character calmly dodges a surprise attack from behind by a hair's breadth. Another guard strikes from above, but our hero avoids it at the last possible second. Now surrounded by 2 warriors attacking relentlessly, he maintains a focused gaze and carefully analyzes every movement. Even at a numerical disadvantage, he dodges every blow with remarkable agility. He thinks about how, after using the single-point annihilation, he only has 2 years of energy left. Because of this, our main character decides he must end the fight as quickly as possible. One of the guards charges forward with a war cry, ready to deliver a decisive strike. With a quick step, our hero slides across the floor and positions himself perfectly. He then leaps over the guard, daggers in hand, and delivers the final strike. The blow lands squarely on the man's back, and he screams in agony as he collapses. The guard hits the ground, completely defeated, with no chance of standing back up. Without missing a beat, our main character launches a powerful energy blast at another opponent. The last guard is completely shocked to see his comrade defeated so easily. Without losing momentum, our hero advances toward the last guard left standing. Absolutely furious, the man yells that he's a third-rate warrior and accuses him of toying with them. At the insult, our main character just tightens his grip on his dagger. Seeing his cold stare, the guard gets scared and calls him a monster without a second thought. Suddenly, Sun Wukong yells furiously and tells our hero to cut the crap immediately. Our main character senses the commander's presence and turns his head, surprised by his speed. With his eyes glowing red, Sun Wukong lands a devastating kick on our hero. The impact of the blow is so strong, it sends him flying with absurd force, defenseless. With that, he hits the ground hard and feels the pain of the attack spread throughout his body. Down and injured, our hero faces the commander, who now approaches with a look of contempt. Sun Wukong curses at him and asks how a nobody like him dares to make such a mess. He says his place is on the ground and that he's nothing but a piece of third-rate trash. The commander continues his lecture, but our main character is already sick of all the yapping. All he can think about is how loud Sun Wukong is, and that he can't even get a moment's rest. With a determined look, he thinks that the method he's about to use is the best he can do. He decides that even if he has to force it, he has no choice but to open his upper dungeon. Seeing this, Sun Wukong is surprised and yells, asking what he's doing now. Our hero taunts him, saying all he does is talk. And the commander says the result will be the same. He tells the commander to stop stalling and to bring it on, as his dagger begins to glow. At this, Sun Wukong gets furious and says that if he really wants to go down, he'll grant his wish. From there, he leaps forward with his sword in hand, ready to finish our hero off for good. But our main character calmly waits for him, shrouded in a powerful aura of blue lightning. Suddenly, his eyes go wide as he realizes something unexpected is happening inside his body. Sun Wukong is in shock, seeing the formless dagger, and wonders why it's there. He wonders if the dagger entered his Dante back then, but doesn't understand how it's there now. The commander yells that it's over and that no matter the reason, what matters is the power is his. At this, our hero's daggers fall to the ground, and the fight seems to have reached its end. But he gathers a large amount of blue energy, and declares he'll end it all in a single blow. Right after, a golden energy begins to mysteriously swirl throughout the hall. This energy envelopes Sun Wukong and stops his attack, leaving him completely surprised by the scene. Sun Wukong becomes desperate as he realizes his body no longer obeys his commands. Shortly after, a mysterious figure takes a step forward, shrouded in a golden aura. The man walks calmly toward our hero, who watches the scene attentively. Our main character is completely in shock to see a white-haired old man in front of him. With a touch on the shoulder, the newcomer calls him young man in a calm and serene voice. He warns him that such power should not be used carelessly, and our hero is surprised. From there, our main character finally understands who the person standing there is and is dumbfounded. Everyone bows before the strongest martial artist of the era, the great leader of the Alliance. It's revealed that he is the master of the Martial Alliance, the Sword Emperor Yujinhak. Our hero's surprise is immense as he comes face to face with such a legendary and powerful figure. With a calm gesture, Yujinhak advises him to be very careful with his abilities. The warning about the use of his power echoes in our hero's mind as he's still processing the whole situation. The imposing presence of the Martial Alliance master fills the hall with his overwhelming aura. Before him, all the guards kneel as a sign of respect, recognizing their supreme leader. The identity of the Sword Emperor is confirmed, completely changing the course of the fight. Our main character stares at the master in silence, still shocked by the legendary man's appearance. A complicated expression appears on his face as he remembers the Emperor's tragic past. He recalls the war against the Blood Cult, when the Alliance's defeat seemed inevitable. Back then, many knelt before the Blood Cult to survive amidst the chaos. But the leader and his Wudang sect were different, and fought bravely until the very end. As the guardian of the righteous path, the Sword Emperor took up his weapon every day to fight. This continued until the day he met his end by the very weapon our hero himself had created. Back in the present, he picks up his dagger from the floor, pushing the bitter memories aside for a moment. He thinks that this is no time to be sentimental and is relieved that Yujinhak can't sense the dagger. Not even the blood demon knew about it. So, it makes sense that the Grand Master wouldn't know either. From there, the young man starts thinking about his next problem and how he's going to handle the situation. He wonders if, should the Emperor's attitude change, he'd be able to counterattack with this. Faced with the silence, the Grand Master finds it all very peculiar and gives a slight smirk. Yujinhak reveals that he can't see anything and that this is the first time something like this has happened. As such, he concludes that the young man before him possesses a very interesting talent. Our main character tenses up, and a drop of sweat trickles down his face at the master's words. Suddenly, a female voice says he must have been pretty scared, and the young man turns in surprise. A woman places a hand on Seal's shoulder to calm her down and says, "Everything is all right now." With a gentle look, she tells the young girl to rest a bit more before getting up. Our hero wonders who this woman is and how he didn't sense her presence there. Yujinhak calls her a brat and asks what he would do if she just disappeared like that again. She apologizes to the Grand Master, and the three of them face each other in the middle of the messy hall. Upon hearing the name Bo Yun, our hero is shocked and wonders if it's who he thinks it is. He recognizes her as the divine Dr. Bo Yun, a former sect leader and powerful healer. With this, he realizes the situation has gotten even more complicated with her arrival. The scene then shifts to 15 minutes earlier, in a beautiful garden with a small pond. Bo Yun is talking with Yujinhak and says she has warned him about this over and over again. With a serious look, the Grand Master states that those men will never change their ways. He laments that many in the Alliance have forgotten honor, which is why he became the leader of it all. With a sad expression, he realizes that even after all this time, nothing has really changed. Bo Yun serves him a drink and asks if he thought fixing the world would be easy. With that, she calls him a stubborn mule for overloading himself with so many problems alone. The two continue their quiet conversation, sitting outside near a pond. The divine doctor advises him not to try to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders without help. She suggests that if things get tough, he should just drop everything and go relax with some good wine. Faced with the unusual advice, the Grand Master just gives a small amused smile. But suddenly, his expression changes completely as he senses a strange energy from afar. Bo Yun scolds him, saying it's not funny, because if he falls to the demons, no one will save him. He then suggests that she could help him, and the doctor turns her head, surprised by his audacity. With a vein popping on her forehead, she becomes completely furious and calls him a rotten scoundrel. Back in the present, Bo Yun calls him a fast mule and wonders how he got there so quickly. Analyzing Li Hozong, she says the damage is too severe and not even an immortal could save him. Sun Wugen explains that the young man used projectiles to defeat a first-class master. What the doctor said was right, and our hero approaches to confirm the story. From there, she turns to our main character and asks if he really used projectiles. At the question, Yujinhak just gives him a serious look and thinks that maybe he knows what's going on. From there, the Grand Master observes the completely destroyed hall, with guards lying all over the place. Sun Woogan yells in desperation that Li Hozong's injuries are very serious and that he needs help. Lying on the floor, our hero laments and wonders how things got to this chaotic a point. Faced with the situation, the commander justifies himself, saying he didn't want to get involved, but had no other choice. The Sword Emperor looks at our main character on his knees and says he finally understands the situation. With a serious look, the Grand Master asks our hero how he's going to explain this whole mess. So, he stands up and says there's nothing to explain, as he only used the Tang clan's martial arts. Our main character states that what he did to those who touched his family still wasn't enough. With that, he says that courtesy to his elders ends here and picks up his daggers from the floor with determination. His eyes glow with a red aura, and he warns that he's not holding back anymore against anyone who gets in his way. Yu Jinhak gets furious and asks if he's really going to throw his life away over a simple emotion. Not caring about the words, our main character charges forward to attack the Grandmaster with all his speed. Facing the imminent attack, the Emperor activates his powerful golden light eye technique with an intense glow. From there, our hero feels a crushing pressure on his body and can barely move from his spot. The Grandmaster asks if revenge is worth more than life, but our hero denies it, saying that's not it. In his thoughts, he reflects that in this life, he has a much greater goal to achieve. Right after, he remembers a destroyed sign amidst the chaos of his past life. At this, our main character states that he's just trying to fix this broken world little by little. With a firm gaze, he declares that he will follow the same path as the Master, even if he has to burn his life away. Yu Jinhak remembers Bo Yun's words about how fixing the world wouldn't be easy at all. With that, the Emperor turns and says that if this is truly the sincere wish of the young man there, our main character is completely surprised by the Grandmaster's unexpected attitude. Suddenly, Yu Jinhak unleashes a golden aura, and several swords appear out of nowhere around him. One of the golden blades sticks into the floor with impressive force right in front of everyone. As such, the Emperor creates a huge yin-yang symbol with his supreme sword technique. Our hero watches in awe and thinks that they say enlightenment can be achieved just by observing. He admits that, apart from that, the Grandmaster's movement is something very beautiful to see. The beauty of the technique is so great that he thinks it would be an honor to be struck by a sword like that. At that moment, he finally understands the essence of the Wudong sword, which is strength within softness. Suddenly, the Grandmaster shouts with all his might, getting everyone's attention. He approaches the fallen Li Hozong and calls him by name with his sword in hand. With a shocked face, the young man can hardly believe it and calls him master with a trembling voice. Relieved, he says his master has finally arrived and bows before him on the wooden floor. But Bo Yun scolds him, saying he caused trouble and insulted someone who was almost a goner. At this, Yu Jinhak points the sword at his neck and says that his opponent risked his life. The Grandmaster questions him about his honor, and Li Hozong is left speechless by the question. Desperate, he tries to justify himself, saying he will risk his life and that our hero started it. But the master tells him to shut up and says that if he hears anything else, his ears will rot. Right after, the Emperor turns to our main character and apologizes for the whole mess. Our hero thanks him, and Li Hozong yells for his master, not understanding what's happening. With a cold gaze, the Grand Master states that he never had a disciple like that young man. As such, he leaves the man's punishment up to our hero, who prepares to act. Enveloped in an aura of blue lightning, our main character walks toward the terrified man. With the sword in hand, he yells for the scoundrel not to come any closer, and our hero says that leaving this world is a luxury. With that, he concentrates a large amount of blue energy in his fist, ready for the attack. Without wasting time, our hero lands a devastating punch on the terrified man's chest. The impact of the blow is so strong that the blue energy spreads uncontrollably throughout his body. From there, a sphere of energy forms and explodes with an absurd and uncontrollable power. As such, Li Hozong is sent flying with brutal force and no chance to defend himself. He twists in the air as the wooden floor shatters into many small pieces. Desperate, the man screams in pain, feeling the agony completely take over his body. Our main character looks at him with a cold stare and says he must live in an agony worse than passing on. The Grandmaster just watches the scene in silence, showing no apparent reaction. Our hero turns to Yu Jinhak and asks to leave the judgment of those men to him. The other guards comment that since the culprit has been punished, it's better for them to retreat right now. With a respectful gesture, he says that since the Emperor ignored his rudeness, he will do the same. Right after, he thanks him for preserving his dignity and walks towards Seoul. With the girl in his arms, he promises he will visit her clan when everything is settled. As he walks away, the Grand Master asks if our hero can spare a little of his time. At the request, our hero turns and says he has enough time for a short conversation. With a slight smile, he adds that he can make a little time for a cup of tea. In Sichuan lies Tang Mountain. Although its original name was completely different, people started calling it Tang Mountain at some point. And in that place is where the Sichuan Tang clan's manor is located. However, that reputation did not last long. The current Tang clan withdrew from the ranks of the 7 great clans and is nothing more than a mid-sized force. At the moment, Tang Saran, elder sister of our hero, and beside her was an elder of the Tang clan, were standing in front of a crowd of people from her clan. The elder asked her, "Is this all right?" She replied, "Clan head, you must not move personally." Then she turned to the people in front of her and said, "Assassination squad, listen up. We will prioritize securing the young clan head's safety above all else and depart immediately. Everyone brace yourselves." As she said that, our hero arrived there while carrying Seal on his back. She, seeing him there, became confused and called him. Tang Seowin stated, "I'm back," and asked where everyone was going in such a hurry. A little later, our hero walks to a table and looks at a picture frame very intently. In the picture, he sees himself older and with a confident look, and says that he really did it. Back in the present, he confirms to himself that he finally managed to return to the past. At that moment, he remembers the Blood Demon Lord's words, saying he would see him again. With that, he clenches his fist and wonders if this whole situation was intentional on the Lord's part. With his face covered by a shadow, he becomes completely furious at this sinister possibility. He swears he'll make the demon regret everything, without fail, this time. With a determined look, he states that this new life will be completely different from the last one. From there, he walks to a tall bookshelf and starts looking for something very important. Soon after, he finds what he was looking for and carefully takes an old book from the top shelf. It's revealed that this is the book of the metal circulation technique, an ability of his clan. His determined gaze shows that he is ready to begin his plan of revenge once and for all. Looking at a puddle on the floor, he wonders if that is a remnant of his past life. Suddenly, he feels agonizing pain and starts spitting up a black liquid non-stop, falling to his knees. He realizes that circulating energy through meditation was a complete failure. It turns out the metal circulation technique was made to help with forging and regenerating the body, but it's terrible for accumulating energy, and his Dantian recognizes the internal energy as poison. Because of this, he had no other choice and can now only move forward with his plan. This same technique gave him the ability to create divine artifacts with absurd power. Then the blood demon's martial art he learned taught him a different solution. A blue aura envelopes his feet as he prepares to test this new method. Now he remembers that even before coming back, his deformed Dantian couldn't be removed no matter what. As such, the situation remains the same, and he needs a new approach to the problem. With a quick movement, he begins to practice a martial art with a golden energy, but he states with conviction that this time he will progress much faster than before. Time passes quickly, and night arrives, bringing darkness to the Grand Palace. Under the light of the full moon, silence takes over the place, and he continues his intense training. After much training, he realizes that his meridians are connected and his Dantian is complete. With this, his energy finally stabilizes, and he feels a great power flowing through his body. He thinks his circulation technique is at 50%, and the blood demons is at 10%. Both use the upper Dantian and innate energy, and one recovers power with ease. Meanwhile, the other technique increases the amount of energy he can use in a fight. Faced with the situation, he floats in the air and thinks that no one would believe his current power. With a confident smile, he prides himself on being able to use his innate energy freely now. Soon after, he realizes that since he blocked his energy, no one can sense him nearby. From there, he decides that he first needs to change his clothes to avoid raising suspicion. While walking through the room, our hero remembers something very important and stops suddenly. He then wonders why the formless dagger came back with him to the past, and is confused. His eyes widen at the thought of the possibility, and he can hardly believe what he's thinking. Suddenly, a young man appears at the door and observes him in silence for a brief moment. The young man calls him "Young clan leader," and apologizes profusely for the sudden interruption. Our main character says it's okay and that he was expecting to be called by them at any moment. The young man is startled, and our main character asks if he is Jangil. The young man just stammers, saying, "Sorry, what do you mean?" Our hero then says he was talking about his name, and Jangil confirms, wondering how he knew. With a smile, our main character says, It's really good to see him again," leaving the young man very confused. From there, the scene changes, and we see our hero walking through a courtyard with a very serious expression. He then arrives in front of a large hall called the Chanhua Hall and prepares to enter. Inside, someone questions if what he says makes sense, and he asks if there's another way to avoid it. Suddenly, one of the hall's doors opens, revealing a bright light coming from the meeting room. Upon entering, he is faced with a long table full of men who stare at him with great contempt. One of the older men in the group observes him with a look of pure anger and displeasure. Unfazed, our hero walks through the hall, passing by everyone present there without fear. One of the men makes a disgusted face upon seeing the confident attitude of the young man before him. Suddenly, a tragic memory comes to his mind, showing him holding someone in his arms. The image reveals that he was over the body of a man who seemed to be very important to him. The painful memory of holding that man's lifeless body haunts him again in the hall. At this, he unleashes a golden aura and prepares for what's to come with great determination. With a firm gesture, he introduces himself as the young leader of the clan, Tang Siwen, in front of everyone. At this, a painful memory of a desperate scream under the full moon hits him hard. Even with the tragic memory, he maintains his posture and faces the clan members with a cold gaze. From there, he declares that he came on the order of the clan leader himself, surprising everyone. An older man tells him to stand up, and it's revealed that he is Tang Nyeo, the leader of the Tang clan. At the order, our hero just stands up and confirms that he understood the great leader's command. The other men watch him from a distance, and wonder where all the confidence he shows comes from. With a serious look, our main character thinks that the current Tang clan is in a dangerous state because of 2 extremely lethal poisons. Then he approaches the table and states, "The discussions seem to be going well, so please continue." As a person raises his hand and says to everyone that he will continue with his speech right now. This person was Tang Hoyle, the head of the escort from the Manhwa. Tang Hoyle says he believes the young leader is well aware of the seriousness of the incident he caused. The man begs him to go straight to the clan's law enforcement hall. But our main character thinks that the first poison is actually Tang Hoyle, that he will take everything he has built up. With a clenched fist, our hero faces the man with a look of pure determination and courage. From there, he recalls the day his uncle, Tang Hoyle, asked if he would become independent of the clan. Confused, he questioned what the man meant, and he just confirmed his words with a smile. Desperate, our hero yells that if the escort agency disappears, the Tang clan will suffer greatly. But his uncle pushes him and says, "That's exactly why I'm leaving right now." He can hardly believe it, and asks how the man could do such a thing. The traitor says he doesn't understand and that he lost the position of clan leader to Tang Nyeo. With a shocked look, he hears his uncle say that he has waited for this day for a long time. At this, the man gives a wicked smile and declares that the Tang clan will finally be his. Back in the present, he thinks that if he hadn't mastered his technique, he wouldn't have his talent. Because of that, even before the invasion, the Tang clan would have been destroyed by financial ruin. Suddenly, a hand smashed the table and calls Tang Hoyle, escort chief, angrily. A man named Tang Jun questions how he dares to be so disrespectful to the rightful heir. He adds that no one who goes to that hall comes back unscathed and that this cannot happen. At this, Tang Hoyle pretends to be sad and says his heart is also heavy with the situation. But he adds that this is the only way for the Tang clan to survive in the end. One of the men asks Steward's son if any faction would side with them against the Qingqing sect. We meet Sun Jian, the head steward of the outer hall, who remains silent for a brief moment. Our main character thinks that although the clan is intimidated, no one will take their side in this fight. He realizes that the clan's fighting spirit is gone, and that this defeatism is the second poison of the place. With that, he states that kindness should be returned and that this is the true nature of his clan. One of the men asks how he defeated the disciple and if he used any forbidden weapons in the fight, but our hero just glares at him and says he's wrong and that his turn to pay will come soon. With a cold look, he adds that this is not the question the man should be asking him. The man becomes completely furious at the audacity and yells that this is no time for jokes in the hall. With a mocking smile, he says he doesn't know how he won, but that he's just a third-rate warrior. As such, the man unleashes a powerful green energy and boasts about his peak master level. But to his surprise, the young man withstands the pressure, and the man wonders how he resisted his energy. Suddenly, the great clan leader speaks up and tells everyone to be silent immediately in the hall. With that, the great leader asks why the young leader fought with Li Hozong and looks at him seriously. At the question, our hero just gives a small smirk with a confident look. Tang Hoyle yells furiously and says the young leader is being way too confident about the whole situation. Unfazed, our main character turns to his uncle and asks what the clan means to him. The man is confused, and our hero begins to explain what the Tang clan was like to everyone there. He says that each member is a cornerstone and that the family must protect each other with their lives. As such, it's revealed that these words were the last will of the former leader of the Tang clan. With a clenched fist, he states that to protect their own blood, they do not hesitate to give their lives. The great clan leader just watches him in silence, processing the young man's words. The other members get nervous and wonder what exactly the problem is with all this commotion. Our hero then asks if he should have just watched while Seo was being attacked by that man. But Tang Hoyle says his question about the forbidden weapons has not yet been answered for good. Not caring, our main character reveals the small daggers he used in the fight against the opponent. One of the men says, "That's just a training dagger," and asks how he defeated the disciple with it. Our main character explains that he managed to subdue a first-class warrior because he used his innate energy. One of the men says that if that's the case, punishing Li Hozong makes sense, as he fulfilled the former leader's will. Our main character asks if his uncle's doubts have been resolved, and the man becomes furious at the audacity. The clan leader then states that the young man really did risk his own life to fight that man. One of the men asks if he really used his innate energy, as it seemed normal when he returned. Our hero explains that it was thanks to the Alliance leader and the divine doctor who treated him on the way back. Tang Hoyle yells that it's a lie, and suddenly a messenger runs in, calling for the clan leader while saying worriedly and thinking that the situation is very bad and something terrible is about to happen. He tries to announce the Alliance's arrival, but the great master Yujinhak is already right behind him in the hall. The sudden appearance of the Sword Emperor leaves all the clan members completely shocked and speechless. With a smile, Yujinhak places a hand on Seowin's shoulder, who is completely frozen by the touch. The Grand Master announces his arrival and asks if everyone there in the hall has been well lately, with a smile. Tang Muyao bows and greets the Alliance leader while our hero just watches the scene in silence. The Emperor apologizes for not being properly received, but says not to worry about formalities. The clan leader thanks him for accepting the apology and prepares to say something else very important. But he says he also won't mind the leader's rudeness, leaving the others shocked by the audacity. Tang Hoyle is stunned by the audacity and asks if the Emperor is talking about rudeness. Right after, he says that the Grand Master's visit is an honor, and that there's no rudeness at all. Taking the opportunity, Tang Hoyle bows and introduces himself as the head of the escort to the Alliance leader. Yujinhak just looks at him and confirms who he is with a serious gaze. Suddenly, the Grand Master's eyes fill with a golden, intimidating energy. He glares at our hero's uncle with a not-so-friendly expression in the hall. With a crushing pressure, he asks if Tang Hoyle can excuse himself from the conversation. The man is completely terrified and apologizes, stammering with fear. Our MC says it will be difficult to serve tea now, but Yujinhak doesn't mind. He states that he needs to act as the leader of the martial alliance at that moment. As such, the Emperor turns to the leader and says that he first needs to speak with him and the entire Tang clan. His serious expression shows that the matter is of extreme importance to everyone. From there, the Grand Master joins his hands in a formal gesture of great respect. His eyes close for a moment as he prepares for what he is about to say. Before everyone, he bows deeply and apologizes on behalf of the martial alliance. The Emperor's unexpected action leaves all the clan members in complete shock. Yujinhak says he should have taught his disciple better and that the fault is all his. He takes responsibility for the lack of supervision as the young man's master. He says this is an apology to the victim and to the Tang clan. He assures them that he will provide great compensation for the trouble that was caused there. But the clan leader states that they did nothing to defend justice at that moment. His voice carries a weight of regret for the inaction of all his men. At this, he reveals that it was our main character who resolved everything on his own with his own hands. The young man just watches the scene in silence, with a very serious look. Because of this, the clan leader refuses to accept any kind of compensation for the clan. He believes they don't deserve to receive anything for the young man's bravery. However, he begs the Alliance leader to ensure that the incident is not distorted. His gesture shows his desperation to protect the honor of his clan and his nephew. Our main character thinks that the Qingqing sect will spread rumors to cover up their shame and that, just like in the past, those arrows will be aimed at him and the Tang clan. The Grand Master assures him that his worries will not come to pass in any way. He states that, regarding today's commotion, the Qingqing sect will not be able to do anything. With a firm gaze, he declares that they will not be able to hold the Tang clan responsible in any way. His word, as the alliance leader, seals the rival sect's fate. Our main character thinks that the outcome wasn't bad at all and that everything worked out in the end. He managed to tie the Qingqing sect's hands and renew his father's position. With that, the emperor turns and says that now there's only one last little thing to be done. Our hero is confused and wonders what else it could be. Now the Grand Master looks at him with a mysterious gaze, making the young man even more curious. His expression suggests that something very important is about to happen. Approaching him, he asks a question that no one expected to hear at that moment. His voice comes out calmly, but the request is something completely out of the ordinary for everyone. The Sword Emperor asks if the young man would like to become his disciple. The request leaves everyone in the hall with their jaws on the floor, unable to believe what they just heard. Our main character is completely dumbfounded and wonders if he heard that right. He can hardly believe that the Grand Master invited him to be his disciple. The other men comment on whether the young leader will become the Master's sixth disciple. One of them corrects, saying that since Li Hozong was expelled, he would be the fifth. Everyone knows that any sect with a disciple of the leader becomes a central power. This means the Tang clan could finally regain its long-lost former glory. The possibility of rebuilding the clan and reclaiming the honor they lost comes to everyone's mind. It would be the perfect chance for the clan to return to the pinnacle of power. The Grand Master gives a small smile. Amused by the young man's reaction, he comments that the young man is finally showing a face that matches his age. Yu Jinhak seems satisfied to see our hero's genuine expression of surprise. He adds that now he really looks like a young man. Our main character thanks the alliance leader for the generous offer he made, but Tang Hoyle panics, thinking his power in the clan will crumble. To everyone's surprise, our hero refuses the Grand Master's offer. While he apologizes, Yu Jinhak pulls something from his robes with a smile. The emperor ignores the refusal and invites him to go with him to Kaifeng the next day. At this, our hero is completely confused, not understanding anything. Suddenly it clicks, and Yu Jinhak is shocked that he's actually refusing his offer. His surprised expression shows that he never expected this answer. The Grand Master says it's his first rejection and asks for the reason for the refusal. Our main character apologizes and explains that he will represent his clan in the future. With a formal gesture, he says that, just as the emperor's only master is from Wudang, he prepares to explain the real reason for his loyalty to his own clan. As such, he declares that his only master will be the Tang clan and unleashes a powerful aura. His determination to protect his family is unshakable and surprises everyone. The clan leader, Tang Muyao, watches him with a look of pride and admiration. The young man's attitude shows the strength and loyalty he so values in the clan. Yu Jinhak agrees that the reason makes sense, and our hero is inwardly relieved. He thinks that, luckily, the leader doesn't usually use his golden light eye technique. In his thoughts, he reflects that privileges are tempting but are a poisoned chalice. If his demonic arts are discovered, it will be his immediate and irreversible end. The Grand Master admits that he still feels a little disappointed with the decision. Our main character agrees and says that his last teaching was a great help. He remembers the taiji overlapping in a single strike and is amazed by the principles. The depth of Wudong's martial art left him completely impressed. Suddenly, the emperor is shocked and wonders how the young man managed to see through that. Our hero's perception of the technique surprises him in an absurd way. With that, he turns to the leader of the Tang clan and praises the young man's incredible talent. The Grand Master recognizes that the young man is a rare genius with great potential. Yu Jinhak is at a loss for what to do and admits that the young man is really very tempting. The desire to have him as a disciple is still very strong and hard to ignore. The clan leader thanks him and says he is very kind, but there must be reasons for the refusal. He trusts his nephew's decision even without understanding all the reasons behind it. Our hero maintains his firm gaze, and the emperor says he can't force him to go, but his words leave an air of mystery and suspense in the grand hall. Yu Jinhak says he can't go back empty-handed and draws a sword with a golden glow. Our main character immediately recognizes the moonlight pattern on the weapon with great surprise. With that, the sword shines with intense energy, and he says its name is Moonwave. He adds that he will add a small debt to the next generation of warriors. Given the situation, he offers a weapon to our main character and says its mystical properties will help him one day. The clan members are completely shocked and recognize the sword forged with meteorite iron. They can hardly believe he gave such a rare weapon to the young clan leader. Tang Muyao understands that this goes far beyond a simple apology gift. He realizes that the emperor is officially recognizing the young leader of the Tang clan. Our hero holds the shining sword and thinks with a serious and determined look. He concludes that the material to create a divine artifact has just fallen into his lap. Suddenly, with a sinister smile, his demonic side says it's very lucky. With that, he states that all preparations for creating the artifact are complete. Our main character bows in a gesture of respect and accepts the weapon so as not to be disrespectful. Yu Jinhak smiles, satisfied, and thanks him for accepting his gift. Right after, the Grand Master offers a personal gift with his name written on the front. He advises the young man to present it whenever he needs any kind of help. Yu Jinhak guarantees that, with that item, any request of his will be treated as if it were from the master himself. This would give him absurd power and influence in the Central Plains. Tang Hoyle is completely shocked by so many privileges for the young man. First, the legendary sword, and now the personal symbol of the great leader of the Martial Alliance. Completely blinded by hatred and envy, he wonders what's so special about that brat. His furious expression shows how much he despises his nephew. The scene then changes completely, and we see a drink being poured into a bowl in a dark place. Sunlight enters through the cracks in the window, illuminating the wooden table. A mysterious man wearing a straw hat at a table complains about his bad luck very angrily. He seems to be very frustrated with something that happened recently. It's revealed that he is Sun Wugin, the commander of the guards who was humiliated earlier. He crumples a piece of paper in his hand and curses out our hero with hatred in his eyes. In a restaurant, a man comments that all of Sichuan is buzzing because of the Tang clan. He says that if the Alliance leader's judgment isn't wrong, they might return to glory. Another young man asks if he heard about the dragon successor guards and the commotion. He reveals that they all received heavy punishment, and the commander was exiled to the Xinjiang branch. The first man questions if it's the mountainous region, and his friend confirms the information. He adds that the commander's career in important positions is over for good. Back to Sun Wugin, he remembers that our hero used projectile techniques in the fight. Completely outraged, he wonders how they could punish him for that. With a clenched fist and enveloped in a red aura, he swears he will repay this humiliation. His revenge will be relentless, and he won't rest until he gets what he wants. The scene then shifts to the Sichuan Tang clan during a very dark and quiet night. Several guards patrol the courtyards of the Grand Palace under the light of the full moon. On one of the rooftops, 2 guards remain vigilant at their watch posts with their swords. The night is calm, but the tension in the air is high after everything that happened. In his room, our main character seems very thoughtful and a little worried about the situation. His father's voice echoes in his mind, saying that he worries too much about everything. He remembers his father ordering the number of guards to be increased and forbidding him from leaving. Our hero finds all this worry and care a complete exaggeration at the moment. Even so, he thinks he doesn't want to be a disobedient son to his own father. His expression shows that he respects the decision, even if he doesn't quite agree with it. Suddenly, the Moonwave sword he received as a gift begins to float and shine intensely. The weapon's energy fills the entire room with a golden and very mysterious light. From there, he stands up and says he can't just keep wasting his time like this. He knows he needs to act as quickly as possible to achieve his goals. As such, he picks up the sword and unsheathes it with a very confident smile on his face. The blade shines with a bluish energy and an impressive, otherworldly power. With that, he declares it's time to go and runs out of the room with the weapon in hand. Our main character is ready to begin his grand plan once and for all. Outside, one of the guards turns around, completely surprised to see a shadow pass by him. The speed of the figure leaves him frozen in the middle of the Grand Palace's courtyard. For a moment, the guard stands there, not understanding what he just saw pass by him. He rubs his eyes, thinking that maybe it was just his imagination. Meanwhile, our main character passes by other guards who don't even notice his presence. His stealth and speed are so great that he becomes practically invisible. To test his new limits, he unleashes a burst of golden energy and moves forward. A flash of light illuminates the dark night for a brief instant in the courtyard. With absurd speed, he moves through the air like a golden bolt of light. His movements are fluid and precise, showing the result of his intense training. He thinks his level may have gone up, but the guard's skills need to improve. From there, he decides to go to the forge to create his main weapon as quickly as possible. Suddenly, his expression changes completely, and he seems to sense something very strange in the air. His eyes widen with the perception of an important presence, or memory. From there, he lands hard on the ground, kicking up a large cloud of dust and wind. His combat stance shows that he is ready for any challenge that comes his way. Looking at the Tang clan village in the distance, he is filled with a sense of nostalgia. The sight of the place brings back many memories of his troubled past. With that, memories of the past flood his mind, showing a bustling village that later turned to ruins. The image of the destruction fills him with a deep sadness and a lot of anger. He then remembers how everyone left back then, abandoning the clan in its worst moment. The betrayal and abandonment still haunt him after all these years. With a determined look, he tells himself to wait just a little longer for his plan. His revenge is getting closer and closer to becoming a reality, and he will not fail. He promises himself that this time will be like before, but with a different outcome. His determination to change the future is the force that drives him forward. Correcting himself, he declares that he will make the clan even more prosperous than before. He will not just restore its glory but will take it to a new level of power. A powerful bluish aura envelopes his feet as he takes the first step toward his goal. The energy emanating from his body is proof of his new, absurd strength. At this, he readies himself with his sword and declares that the first wave will begin there. His grand plan of revenge and reconstruction is about to truly begin. Arriving at the clan's forge, called the Hall of 10,000 Irons, he holds the sword firmly. His hand tightens on the hilt of the weapon. As he prepares to enter the place, in front of the door, he thinks that normally he would need permission to enter, but he believes that since it's late at night, there will be no one to bother him. From there, he reaches out to open the large metal door of the hall. However, something unexpected makes him stop midway with a surprised expression. Suddenly, the door opens, and a man glares at him and asks what he's doing there so late. Our main character is completely shocked by the man's presence in the forge. Without losing his composure, he makes a respectful gesture and introduces himself to the master of the hall. His serious expression shows that he was not expecting this meeting at all. In his thoughts, he regrets having met the person he most wanted to avoid. That man is the most respected elder in the clan, and even his father treats him well. It's revealed that he is a core member of the Tang clan who doesn't even have the family surname. A large scar on his shoulder shows that he is an experienced warrior. On top of that, he is the master of all the clan's blacksmiths, and the owner of the Hall of 10,000 Irons. His hands, full of calluses and scars, are proof of his hard work and dedication. We then meet the black-handed craftsman, the great blacksmith named Gu Yanjian. Our main character faces him with a tense look, and a drop of sweat trickles down his face. He remembers that the blacksmith dedicated himself to the clan because of the former leader, Tang Yuite, but he always maintained a neutral and indifferent attitude toward the clan's internal affairs. Because of this, the memory of that day is especially vivid in our hero's mind. He recalls the moment when the Manhwa escort agency became independent from the clan. At that time, the craftsman only dedicated himself to forging powerful and divine swords. He ended up leaving the Tang clan along with the traitor Tang Hoyle without looking back. The memory of how the blacksmith looked at him with resentful eyes haunts him again. Soon after, the man turned and left without saying a single word. Our main character doesn't understand where so much resentment came from, but those eyes were irreversible. At this, he decides it's better to postpone his plans for now and retreat. With a disappointed look, he apologizes for disturbing the craftsman so late at night. His expression shows the frustration of having his plan interrupted in that way. But our hero says he had an urgent idea and came to put it into practice in the forge. At this, the black-handed craftsman just closes his eyes and tells him to go ahead. Our main character is confused by the response, and the blacksmith tells him to do what he came to do. With a serious look, the man tells him to stop dawdling and come out from where he's hiding. Suddenly, a girl appears and announces that the young clan leader is there at the forge door. Surprised, our hero recognizes her as Seol, and the girl thanks him for everything last time. The young girl seems a little sad and lowers her head without saying another word. With a smile, our main character says he's relieved and that what matters is that she's alive. The craftsman comments that the leader forbade our hero from leaving for 7 days and nights. Our main character is surprised, and the blacksmith tells the girl not to bother him and for them to leave. He thinks that the master let him use his equipment, and promises to thank him next time. Already inside the forge, the black-handed craftsman calls him, and our hero responds promptly. The blacksmith remains silent for a brief moment with a very thoughtful expression on his face, but he just says to forget it, and turns to leave with the girl, Seol. Our main character is completely confused as he watches the two of them walk away. Our main character decides to put that matter aside for now and focus on his objective. With that, he finally pushes the door and enters the forge, ready to start his work. Holding his sword, he states that he cannot miss this rare opportunity at all. He then remembers a saying that, for a master, weapons are just a means to an end. But with a serious look, our hero thinks that's all complete nonsense. After all, in this world, there are divine artifacts that can transcend martial arts. Analyzing the weapons, he finds it pathetic that the Hall's skill is so mediocre. From there, our hero picks up a large metal blade to begin his work. With the weapon in hand, he wonders if this is the best the master of the Hall can do. He thinks the blacksmith deserves to be called a master, but his skill is still insufficient. Even without his artifacts, the blood cult has many demonic weapons and armaments. In front of the forge, he recalls that they are weapons perhaps even more terrible and cruel than his own. As such, to destroy them, he needs divine artifacts that are equal or superior. He then puts on a pair of leather gloves and says he normally wouldn't use them for forging. With a firm stomp on the pedal, our main character finally begins to heat the furnace. With the furnace lit, he prepares himself and says that what he's about to do is something special. From there, he places the Moonwave sword directly into the intense flames of the forge. Before the fire, he states that this is not an ordinary forge like the others that exist. With an absurd focus in his eyes, he prepares to begin the creation process. At that moment, he remembers his past life and the tragic invasion of the blood cult. The pain and confusion of that time return, and he wonders where he is and what happened. Amidst the destruction and chaos, he walked aimlessly, trying to understand the situation. The image of his scream of despair and agony with white hair haunts him again. With his teeth clenched in anger, he relives the helplessness he felt on that terrible day. Lying on the ground, he wondered if he was even alive after everything that had happened. Given the situation, he questioned why he was the only one to survive amidst the chaos. He saw himself as a metal worker who creates divine artifacts, but also as a demon. That was a legendary story that only the founder of the Tang clan managed to achieve. He remembers when, even in chains, he swore he would finish off the blood demon. His furious scream echoes in his memories and fills him with determination for the work. The image of his face, distorted by fury, returns to his mind with full, uncontrolled force. He remembers when he was hanging upside down, completely helpless and without hope. At that time, the blood demon lord appeared and made him a very tempting offer. But our hero refused with hatred and told the lord to get lost without a second thought. The lord was unfazed by the refusal and continued with his blackmail to get what he wanted. With that, the villain asks if he doesn't care about the lives of the remaining members of his clan. The demon lord states that, for him, it doesn't matter if they live or pass on to a better place. He boasts, saying that unifying the martial world is just a matter of time for his power. Next, the lord threatens him, saying that next time he will throw their heads at him as a gift. Our hero thinks that such a cruel man wouldn't keep them alive, but he has no other choice. Given the situation, he clenches his fist and decides that, if that's the case, he'd rather give in to the deal. As such, he finally accepts the deal to protect what's left of his own family. But he imposes a condition, saying that divine artifacts are based on the user's martial arts. Because of this, he demands that the blood demon lord share his arts with him. With that, he swears he will make the blade of vengeance bloom. And thus, 10 divine weapons were born. These 10 weapons became known as the 10 demonic weapons and announced their birth. Back in the present, he thinks that melting the meteorite iron with the Hall's fire is impossible. But with the power of his metal circulation technique, he states that he will be able to melt it. With that, the sword's blade completely melts and flows into a metal mold. Such, he picks up a large wooden hammer and prepares to start forging the weapon. From there, he begins to hammer the metal with absurd force and speed on the anvil. Right after, he dips the blade into a barrel of water to cool it down quickly. He then thinks of a weapon that blocks everything and, at the same time, can cut through anything. With that, the image of the Surin, the blood-weaved demon empress's symbol, appears in his mind. In front of the forge, he creates the celestial silk and remembers that it consisted of 9 sheets of material. From there, he takes the single sheet he managed to create, and says that it doesn't matter now. With a focused look, he states that what he wants to create is not the original celestial silk. Right after, he unleashes a yellow energy and shoots it toward the golden fabric. He wants to create a thread that far surpasses the threads of the celestial silkworm of the plains. As such, he creates the sister work of the 10 demonic weapons, the powerful celestial silk. He names his new creation the celestial net, and suddenly a figure drops from the ceiling to attack him. The mysterious intruder lunges forward with a powerful strike toward our main character on the ground. But to the man's surprise, the celestial net easily blocks the attack, stopping him in midair. At this, the aggressor is completely shocked and yells in disbelief at what just happened. Our main character looks at him and thinks that, for an elite of the Martial Alliance, they're pretty careless. From there, he recognizes him as the former commander of the guards and apologizes for his rudeness. Sun Woogan is furious at the audacity, and our hero says he arrived at a great time for a fight. With the blue threads in his hands, he reveals that, just now, he had something he really wanted to test. Tang Seowon remarked that perhaps he should thank Sun Woogan for saving him the trouble of finding him. With his eyes burning red in anger, Sun Woogan struggled to free his sword from the heavenly net weapon Seowon had used to restrain it. Woogan believed Seowon was acting overly confident and thought that a mere thread like that could be cut down in a single stroke. As Woogan was about to act, Seowon smiled calmly, implying that it would not be so easy. In the next instant, Woogan's sword shattered into several pieces, stunning him for a brief moment. Seizing the opportunity, Seowon attempted to restrain him further with the heavenly net. Woogan immediately realized the danger and leapt back, creating distance between them. Seowon observed that Woogan had likely grabbed any weapon he could to avoid leaving traces and commented that it remained to be seen how long he could last without his main weapon. Seowon took his stance and attacked again, directing threads of the heavenly net toward Woogan. Woogan clenched his teeth in frustration, desperately trying to determine where the attack was coming from. As an attack was about to land, he released his chi to envelop his body, successfully blocking it. Seeing this, Seowon realized that Woogan intended to wrap himself in protective chi and focus on defense and evasion. In response, Seowon also poured his chi into the heavenly net, deciding to demonstrate the secret technique of the Heavenly Maiden sect. The threads began to intertwine as Seowon unleashed the flawless heavenly thread art, first form, enhanced thread strike. The attack shot forward at incredible speed and severed Woogan's left ear. Screaming in pain, Woogan fell to his knees, clutching the wound to stop the bleeding. Seowon coldly remarked that with one ear missing, there was no longer any point in hiding his identity, and that Woogan should have revealed his true colors from the start. Enraged, Woogan drew another sword from his back and charged forward, cloaking it in a fiery aura. He believed that only complete sword energy could counter sword energy, and assumed victory, convinced that Seowon could not manifest sword energy at his level. However, Seowon remained completely still. Just as the sword was about to strike him, an aura explosion erupted, sending shockwaves throughout the forging hall. When the smoke cleared, Woogan was seen kneeling on the ground, coughing blood, his sword shattered in his hand. In disbelief, he questioned what had just happened. The scene shifted to Seowon, who stood unharmed behind a shield formed entirely of heavenly net threads. This was the flawless divine thread art, second technique, circular wing. Woogan stared in shock, unable to comprehend how a shield made only of thread could exist. Seowon brushed dust from his shoulder and calmly explained that Woogan's sword was simply weak, warning him not to give up yet as he continued gathering his chi. Seowon reflected internally that the Heavenly Maiden sect's flawless heavenly thread art was far more than a simple technique like Iron Guard. Rather than merely hardening the skin, it reinforced whatever it wrapped around like armor. Though it appeared to be thread, it retained the hardness of meteoric iron as the heavenly net, further strengthened by the flawless art, making it capable of blocking even thunder bombs. With that, Seowon launched another technique, firing a thread that pierced between Woogan's right shoulder and chest. Woogan collapsed to the ground, coughing blood, realizing in terror that Seowon was a monster. Approaching him, Seowon commented that Woogan's skill was disappointing given the confidence he had shown. Woogan ground his teeth nervously, unable to understand how someone who had not even reached the peak realm could possess such overwhelming strength. Seowon placed a hand on Woogan's shoulder and explained that he could not kill him, as he needed to hand him over to the law enforcement hall. However, before that, he intended to teach him a small lesson, just as he had done to Li Hozong. Recalling what had happened to Li Hozong, Woogan felt a surge of dread and resolved that he would rather die than suffer such a fate, or end up crippled with a shattered energy core. Before Seowon could act, Woogan suddenly leapt upward, smashed through the roof of the hall, and fled. Watching him escape, Seowon muttered that he had expected at least some resistance, and complained that Woogan was only creating extra work for him. Some time later, in a bamboo forest, Woogan fled desperately, gasping for breath as pain tore through his wounds. He could not believe he was running so disgracefully from someone he considered at best second-rate. Still, he could not forget Seowon's eyes, which he believed belonged to a demonic arts practitioner. Stopping briefly to rest, he reflected that he had poured all his remaining power into his footwork. At that rate, Seowon should not be able to track him, and Woogan still had far more inner energy. He reasoned that the Alliance would never take him back and wondered if he had no choice but to follow the Yangtze River and join the unorthodox faction. A smile crept across his face as he considered that handing over the top-secret information he possessed might secure him a decent position. At that moment, Seowin's voice rang out, condemning traitors for never changing, even when they returned. Woogan instantly turned and slashed his sword, striking the bamboo where Seowin had been standing. Seowin mocked him, questioning whether his brain was merely decorative, and pointed out that the black bamboo grove was filled with bamboo stronger than steel. Woogan jumped backward to create distance, realizing he lacked the energy to wield sword energy. He decided to switch to a thrust aimed straight for Seowin's heart. As he rushed forward, a heavenly net thread suddenly wrapped around one of his feet and severed it cleanly at the ankle. Losing balance, Woogan crashed to the ground. Before he could understand what was happening, heavenly net threads coiled around nearby bamboo and then around his arms, neck, stomach, and legs, suspending him helplessly in midair. Seowin stated that once the heavenly net bit into its prey, it never let go. Only then did Woogan realize that Seowin had infused his innate core energy into the heavenly net. Horrified, he begged for mercy. Seowin appeared momentarily confused by the sudden plea as Woogan desperately apologized, claiming he had lost his head. Seowin narrowed his eyes, insulted him, and then released him, warning him never to show his face again as long as he lived. Turning to leave, Seowin walked away while Woogan slammed his head against the ground, shouting his gratitude to the young lord of the Tang clan. As Woogan watched Seowin's back retreating into the distance, a sinister smile spread across his face. Drawing his sword, he quietly approached from behind, believing that letting one's guard down as a martial artist meant death. Before he could strike, a dagger pierced straight through him. In shock, Woogan looked down and saw that it was the same purple dagger Seowin had possessed in his previous life. Seowin turned to him and calmly explained that if Woogan had expected to surprise him, there was no need to worry, as Seowin had never believed him from the very beginning. Next, the dagger returned back into Seowin's body, and he closed his eyes and took a deep breath and let out a sigh of relief as he looked down on the lifeless body of Woogan lying on the ground. His hand go through his hair and he muttered that now there's only one more enemy left to be eliminated. The scene shifts to the clan palace, and someone wonders how the guard leader attempted that attack. One of the men shouts that if they had disciplined the guard from the start, none of this would have happened. One of the leaders then asks how they are going to clean up the whole mess that was caused by this situation. Furious, one of the elders shouts for the others to handle the additional compensation plan while being held back. It's revealed that the young man's movements were causing great waves throughout the Orthodox Murim. The scene then shifts to the Tang clan's residence chief escort office, and a mouse scurries across the room. In a dark room, Tang Hoyle asks another if he has finally made an important decision. The person across the table asks if there will be a problem inviting an elite wandering warrior into their plan. The person was Youngdao Inner and Outer Hall's deputy chief steward. Furthermore, he wonders if it's safe to secretly proceed with the Murim Alliance's escort job. Tang Hoyle assures him even if it's a request from the Murim Alliance, if they have a supreme martial master at his peak, there's nothing to worry about. He adds that everything will be done in secret, so there's no way it can go wrong. With a smile, the man offers a drink and says that a real man needs to think big. He then promises that as soon as the escort job is finished, they will bring the Tang clan to total ruin. I will promise you the seat of the clan head of the new Tang clan. The two then continue their conversation, seated at a table with the 2 cups and jar in the center. Young Dao then pick up the cup and drink it in one go. Hoyle saying that he made the right decision for their future. The hero's uncle Hoyle laughs wickedly and thanks his nephew for turning a disaster into good fortune. The scene then shifts to the outside of a large palace during a very calm night. Our protagonist then leaps from a rooftop and prepares to train intensely. Soon after, he delivers a powerful punch to the ground, releasing a large wave of blue energy. With the impact, he is launched upwards and demonstrates an incredible control of his newly awakened power. With a drop of sweat on his face, he realizes the training is demanding a lot from his body. He let out a sigh and says that his recovery is basically complete at that moment. And he sit on the ground, while thinking, damn, my whole body aches, has it been 4 full days? The backlash from pushing my innate core energy to its limits hit hard, and the pain that started from my deformed energy core spread throughout my entire body. It felt like hundreds of blades were stabbing into me, then I would lose consciousness and come to, over and over again. I did it to gauge my current level, but I overused my innate core energy way too much for divine artifact creation. There was no need to use 1-point kill just to defeat Sun Woogan. Asio Surin, the blood-weaved demonic empress who acts like an assassin. True to her origins in the Divine Maiden sect, said to be the greatest in the Central Plains when it came to spells, each of her 9 heavenly weaves held a different curse. Curses were also carved into the heavenly net, which is a prototype of the heavenly weave. So the only secret art currently unlocked is the 1-point kill embedded in my ring finger. Its ability to never lose its target is still intact, so I need to recover the rest of my energy quickly. Sun Wugin, who's at the later stages of the peak realm, is weaker than a mere squad member in the blood cult. Against their vice captain, who's around the early stage of the supreme peak realm, I'd be an even match. But against the captain, who's in the later stages of the supreme peak realm, 50 exchanges will probably be my limit. Then he summoned the purple dagger while muttering, but then there's the demonic weapon of divine slaughter, the formless flight dagger. With this weapon, it'll be a different story. It's a shame that I can only use it for about 3 minutes right now. Suddenly a voice yells for someone to get out of the way, and the young man looks confusedly at his room door while thinking that his sister's voice. The guard outside Suwon room was stopping her while saying the clan head ordered that no one can be allowed in. His sister with a tray says the order was to protect against a possible attacker, not to treat her coldly. Despite the guard's hesitation, she ignores him and tells him not to stand in her way as she moves forward. The hero then greets her and suggests they sit down to talk more calmly. Soon after, the two sit face to face at a table in the center of the large room. With her arms crossed, she stares at him with a serious expression, and the young man wonders if she is mad at him. He remembers that she asked him not to cause any more trouble, and since he just got into another mess, her anger is justified. He then wonders if she will try to discipline him, but soon thinks he is too old to be spanked like a child. The young woman comments that he looks very well for someone who has recently gone through all that trouble. With that, he apologizes to his sister and is absolutely certain that she is really very mad at him. She then serves him a drink and the young man asks what the liquid in the bowl is. The sister explains that she boiled a 100-year-old snow ginseng for 2 days and that it will help nourish his body. The hero wonders how he could accept that from his sister with a surprised look on his face. He remembers that the prize was what she received for a ranking acting at the top of the Dragon Phoenix. With that, the young woman says it's useless to her, and that she was just letting it go to waste. But the young man knows that's a lie and that she fought alone to get where she is. He still remembers how happy she was when she surpassed her limits in training. So the boy says he can't drink it, and she asks if he is going to ignore her sincerity. The blacksmith thinks that expression used to scare him as a child, but now it's just strange. Suddenly, a memory from the past flashes into his mind, leaving him completely terrified. In this memory, he is covered in wounds and sees her lifeless on the ground and a sword pierced through her heart. The protagonist recalls terrified end of her sister and other life. At that moment his sister called out to him, and wakes up from the trance, panting and sweating. Worried, his sister rushes to his side and asks what happened and if he's okay. The young man just says that everything is fine and that it was just a passing moment of dizziness. The young woman then insists that he drink the potion and threatens him with severe consequences. The hero looks at his sister and realizes there's no way to win against her stubbornness. At that moment, he decides he will accept her sincerity and guide her to a higher realm in the martial arts. With that, the boy takes the bowl and asks her to protect him for a moment, while he meditates. The scene then shifts to the outside of the Grand Clan Palace during a star night. Suddenly, the sister's eyes widen, completely shocked by what she is witnessing. The protagonist meditates as a powerful blue aura explodes from his body, surprising everyone. The young woman is shocked because the ginseng value was at least 15 years of pure energy. Then the young man stands up and tells his sister that he's finished and that it helped him a lot. With his body feeling much lighter, he thanks her while a blue aura completely surrounds him. After that, he asks his sister if her main weapon is still the famous iron fan. The young woman confirms that it is while pointing to the artifact attached to her waist. With a smile, the boy promises that on the day his punishment ends, she should come to the forge. Suddenly, a guard announces the arrival of the clan leader, and the hero is surprised by the visit. The man enters the room with an imposing posture, and the boy doesn't understand the situation. The two siblings greet him, and the young man realizes that his sister didn't know about the visit either. Their father remains silent for a moment, and stares at the empty pot on the large table. At this, the young woman panics, remembering that she took the ginseng without permission and tries to explain herself, but her father just tells her to leave the room, and she thanks him and quickly withdraws. The hero watches his sister leave and thinks that she abandoned him to deal with their father alone. Then the clan leader calls his son by name with a very serious expression on his face. The young man answers yes and faces his father, a little nervous about the whole situation. With a piercing gaze, the man reveals that he knows his son is hiding a big secret. He explains that he noticed the boy hid something when he dealt with the last enemies. The boy is shocked and asks how he knew. And the father says he always notices when a child changes, but the man reassures him, saying he isn't there to question him about what happened. Emotional, the young man thinks he wishes he could tell him everything and say that he missed him. The father then asks if his son knows why he didn't seek him out, and the young man thinks it's because of his mistakes. But the man reveals that it was his fault, and the protagonist is completely confused by the answer. The clan leader explains that his whole life he followed the alliance, and that harmed the family. Even feeling indebted to the clan, he admits that he never regretted his convictions. With a serious look, he adds that this was true only up until that very moment. The man then laments not even being able to protect his own son properly. At this, the father stares at a candle flame and calls the boy for a more serious conversation. He says that although the young man's way is rough, he shouldn't change because he's on the right path. The clan leader continues saying that he himself will change so he can help his son when needed in exchange for his support. The father asks only that the hero make him one single important promise. He asks the boy not to lose his sense of chivalry even if his actions are just. The man then reveals that his great concern is his son's excessive thirst for vengeance. He warns him that if he continues to dedicate himself only to taking down villains, he will become just like them. He says that for him, whoever deserves to be gone. But the boy understands the concern and says he knows what he needs to be careful about from now on. So the hero raises a finger and promises his father that he will do it only once. He swears that if someone doesn't truly deserve to be eliminated, he will give them a second chance. The clan leader closes his eyes with an expression of relief upon hearing his son's promise. Satisfied with the answer, the father says that is enough. Half a month later, we see a busy street with a carriage passing by. Inside a carriage, someone comments that the place is quite busy for the middle of nowhere. A woman then warns one of the young ladies to be careful with her words as they could be rude. The disciple gets annoyed and says she's just speaking her mind while the other remains silent. With a mocking smile, she wonders how the Tang clan dares to criticize the great Amay sect. The leader scolds her for her lack of respect, and the young woman covers her mouth, feigning innocence. With that, the master punishes her and orders her to hold a horse stance to train her mind. The leader then thinks to herself that there is something very strange about this whole situation. She recalls rumors that the Tang clan was in decline, but the place seems prosperous. Outside, a crowd of people pushes and argues in a gigantic line. The disciples are surprised by the number of people and notice there are more patients than at their own sect. Two men in the crowd comment that the young clan lord's skills are divine. They spread the word that there's no illness he can't cure and that he was trained by a heavenly healer. The group from the Amay sect gets out of the carriage and hears that the Tang clan used to be the best in blacksmith and medicine. The girl complains about the wait and says it would be better to go to their sect, which is superior. A man overhears her and retorts that the Amay sect is only for the rich and the common people have no access. Furthermore, he reveals that days ago, the young man healed someone that the Amay sect itself had given up on. The disciple becomes furious and calls it ridiculous, but the master tells her to shut up. The young woman complains that the people are disrespecting the sect, but the leader reminds her of a warning. In a flashback, the Grand Master warns them to go to the Tang clan and apologize courteously. The elder even threatens to discipline the sect leader personally if she fails the important mission. One of the disciples offers to announce their visit, but the master refuses, saying she wants to see the clan's medicine. With that, she decides to go inside to see with her own eyes the skills they say surpass those of her sect. Inside the gate, patients are called one after another very quickly and continuously. The sect group observes the flow of people, and the leader stares at the scene with a very serious expression. She is surprised and wonders how he manages to finish the consultation so quickly and efficiently. One of the disciples comments to the master that the speed of the service is indeed absurdly fast. The other young woman believes they are just numbing the patient's pain to fake a cure. She calls it a fraudulent practice. And at that moment, Seol appears to receive them. Seol apologizes for the long wait, and with a gentle smile asks them to follow her inside. The disciple thinks that real doctors condemns this practice because it deceives and harms patients. Because of this, she glares at the guide with fury and finds the situation completely unforgivable. The guide Seol leads them to a waiting room and asks them to wait as they will soon be seen by the young master. The sect leader stares at the closed door of the consultation room with a very suspicious expression. Curious, she decides to peek through a crack in the door to see what's happening inside the room. In the room, our protagonist is seated and talking calmly with his next patient of the day. The disciples also peek and whisper that he looks like a detestable guy and that the place has no security. The young woman still doesn't dismiss the suspicion of fraud and decides to strike as soon as she has any proof of the scam. A mother begs for the young man's help while her daughter asks her not to cry, and he calms her with a smile. The hero asks what troubles her, and the girl says that other doctors told her she would never walk again. He then asks if she has ever thrown herself to avoid something, and the mother is shocked by the precise question. The mother confirms that 3 months ago her daughter rolled to dodge a carriage, and the hero says he figured. He then explains that her condition damaged the nerves in her shin and paralyzed her muscles. The sect's disciple is shocked and wonders how he managed to diagnose that so quickly. The master and the other young woman admit it was a perfect diagnosis that not even they could have made at a glance. At this, the blonde girl becomes confused. Seeing that her leader and companion are speechless, with hope in her eyes, the mother asks if the young clan chief can really treat her daughter. He replies that he will do it right now and pulls out a black needle with a powerful energy. The suspicious disciple grumbles that the needle is as black as his heart and calls him sneaky. The sect leader and the other apprentice are completely astonished by the young man's skill. The master doesn't understand how he can use such a thin needle to channel so much energy. She recognizes that the item is better than a very expensive artifact she bought and calls it divine. The other young woman wonders why no one seems to hear the whispering technique she is using. Suddenly, the little girl jumps for joy and shouts that she can move her leg while her mother gives thanks. The sect leader realizes that the treatment wasn't just temporary, as she had initially suspected. She sees that he reconnected the girl's nerves and meridians cleanly and very precisely. With a smile, the young man shows his talent, and the master recognizes him as an unparalleled genius. The leader then realizes the gravity of the situation and what they have been doing all this time. She remembers the Grand Master's warning and understands they were caught spying on the Tang clan's treasure. The little girl says goodbye and says she'll be back, but the hero advises her not to as she's already healed with a cute smile. She says she wants to see him again, and he invites her to come back whenever she wants sweets. The mother and daughter hug happily, and the little girl asks if she can play now that she's healed. With this, the sect leader questions what they should do now that they've been discovered. She feels guilty and thinks this is karma for her own distrustful actions. So, the woman decides the right thing to do is to honestly apologize for spying. But suddenly, she is startled to see something flying towards her at high speed, and move her head to dodge it, and thing hit the back wall, forcefully sending shock waves and dust around. One of the disciples with her wooden staff angrily shouts and asks what that was, and the hero says he left them alone because of the patient. He then warns them that they will pay the price for spying on his clan's secret art. With red eyes, he threatens them and tells them not to even think about leaving that place alive. The young man then uses his chi and pulls his weapon back that he threw earlier. The weapon flies across the room and gets back to his hand, and holds it firmly in his hand. He then prepares for the fight and advances against the group with a weapon in each hand. The short-haired disciple is shocked to recognize the ghost, grabbing technique he used. The leader tries to calm the young clan leader, but the other apprentice charges forward to attack angrily. The blonde girl shouts furiously and asks how he dares to attack the group from the Amay sect. The hero easily dodges and says he already figured they came with impure intentions. The young woman then decides to use the Art of the Storm sword to take him down with a single blow, but the young man just stares at her with his surprised gaze. As the girl knocks down unconscious by the Amay sect leader, and the sect leader then looks at her fallen disciple without showing any emotion. With a quick movement, the master firmly grabs the unconscious disciple by the shoulder. She then throws her away from fight, but the young man is unfazed and continues his attack with a powerful sword slash. The woman blocks the blade with her bare hand and realizes it's too late to dodge. With that, a large explosion of energy occurs from the impact of the two blows. The other disciple catches the unconscious fellow disciple, who was thrown back away by the leader. The hero then creates an energy dagger and prepares to attack the sect leader. He hurls the projectile with incredible speed in the woman's direction without hesitation. The master is impressed because even with his strength, he shows no hesitation. She realizes that this boy is not an ordinary martial artist and has a hidden power. The young man stomps hard on the ground and propels himself into a new swift and precise attack. He understands that the medical techniques weren't the only thing the Grandmaster wanted to see. With that, the boy throws the hilt of a sword like a projectile to distract his opponent. The leader thinks he will attack from the other side while she dodges the flying object. Now all that's left is to prepare for the next attack that will come her way, but she is surprised to see the young man smiling calmly and confidently. The other disciple screams in desperation upon seeing her master cornered by the strategy. The leader's eyes then widen as she realizes the true intention behind the attack. The master realizes that the real attack is actually coming from behind her, not from the front. With that, the hero advances with a war cry and delivers a powerful blow with the weapon's hilt. The woman grinds her teeth and feels the pain of the impact as she tries to block the young man's attack. She manages to catch the weapon with her bare hand, but the force of the blow pushes her back. The leader then counterattacks with a palm strike and the young man jumps to dodge the attack. The woman continues her advance and pursues him with a golden aura emanating from her body. With a direct hit, she strikes the protagonist's chest with the palm of her hand. The young man spits a little blood and feels the force of the impact spread through his body. He is then thrown far away and the sect leader observes him with a serious look. The blonde disciple wakes up with a headache and the other asks if she's okay and what happened. The young woman then wonders what happened and sees her master and the hero facing each other in the middle of the room. The sect leader stares at him in surprise, seeming not to believe what she is seeing at that moment. Confronting, the protagonist wipes the blood from his mouth and prepares for the next round of the fight. He gets up and faces his opponent without showing any fear. The young man thinks that he overdid it and went all out without realizing it. While the woman's sword is on the floor, the master can't believe that a 20-year-old young man can use the ghost grabbing technique with such mastery. Suddenly, a thread wraps around the sword's hilt and pulls it back into the hero's hand. With both weapons in hand, he challenges her to a new attack with a confident smile. The woman wonders what kind of martial art uses threads and if he reached this level on his own. The two disciples watch the scene and the sect leader advances to continue the fight. Suddenly, the hero's father appears and gives an order to the martial artists of the Tang clan. With a war cry, the man orders his men to suppress the enemy immediately. At this, the guards advance and separate the young man from the sect leader, interrupting the fight. The protagonist is shocked and wonders why his father is there at that moment. His sister Saran rushed to protect her brother, shouting his name. She then tells one of the disciples to stop and angrily stated, "Don't move." The young woman looks embarrassed and says she just wanted to help, but Saran glares at her furiously. With a threatening look, she tells her not to let it happen again, and the scene changes to another location. We are taken to the Storm Hall, a large palace within the clan's property. There we see the group from the Amay sect facing the council of elders of the Tang clan. The leader tries to smooth things over, saying she has known the clan leader since their youth, but the man says it's all a misunderstanding and asks what her excuse is. He questions the fact that she hid her identity and entered the clan's property. The clan leader also asks if she found it suspicious that the Tang clan had patients in line. With that, he clenches his fist tightly, and his anger becomes very evident. Furious, he asks if the misunderstanding is that she injured his son with a heavy blow. The other elders stare at her with suspicion and ask if she came to finish someone else's job. The woman says that is absurd, and the clan leader grips the hilt of his sword. The blonde disciple blames herself for everything and thinks none of this would have happened if she hadn't attacked. Meanwhile, the other young woman worries about the hero and hopes he isn't injured. Suddenly, the women of the sect turn in surprise as they hear someone approaching the location. Then, our protagonist enters the hall with a confident and very imposing posture. He introduces himself as the young chief of the clan and pays his respects to the leader of the Tang clan. With a smile, he offers a sincere apology and says he caused unnecessary worry. The father then asks if he is feeling well and the young man says he has recovered after resting. He then lies saying he has accumulated some fatigue from taking care of many patients lately. But the clan leader questions him and asks if he didn't suffer any internal injuries in the fight. The young man feigns ignorance and asks with a surprised look about internal injuries. One of the disciples thinks the divine energy should have injured him, but he says it was a mistake. The hero apologizes to the Amay sect leader and says he didn't expect her to come in person. He continues to apologize for his incompetence in not recognizing her and for attacking her. With a discreet glance, the young man asks the Amay sect leader to say no more and just wait. The elders conclude that if he is not injured, then it was all just a misunderstanding. The father then tells his son that he doesn't have to let the situation go for the good of the clan. He knows the young man is suppressing his pain, but the boy reveals that he is just pretending. The clan leader is shocked and asks why he would do that, and the son asks for his help. With a serious expression, the heir prepares to execute the next part of his plan. The father stares at his son in silence, seeming to think about the mysterious request he made. Playing along, he turns to the sect leader and asks what she is trying to do. At this, the hero gives a wicked smile and tells the woman not to worry about what's to come. He then says with a wicked smile that he will resolve the issues between the two groups, but it will come at a very steep price. Genius protagonists, overwhelming growth, and legendary battles, this is your battlefield. We're just steps away from 20,000 subscribers. Subscribe now and rise with us.